Ultra Magnus to Rodimus Prime. Come in.
Howdy, and welcome to another Character History Spotlight. First, thanks to everyone for checking out the History of Transformers 1987 edition. Glad so many enjoyed it.
First time I've ever seen such activity in these parts.
Oh, come on now. That plush talking Alf doll a few years back got a couple of views. But on to our next Character History Spotlight.
Today marks a momentous occasion.
Indeed, we're looking at the perennial second in command of the Autobots.
Ultra Magnus? Ultra Magnus?
Ultra Magnus?
Ultra Magnus! But why?
Always so humble. Well, big guy, it's because you're the favorite childhood Autobot of Sean's. Or Brother Slick, as I've known him since our days back on Halstead Street, who made this his Patreon special missions request.
I'm just a soldier. I'm not worthy.
Oh, I think there are a lot who would disagree with that.
Then let's get started.
Now, if you're a casual Transformers fan, you may think his birthday was in 1986.
My birthday? I don't even know when that is.
But Magnus first rolled out 2 years earlier in the Land of the Rising Sun as Powered Convoy, as part of the Diaclone line, Japan's precursor to Transformers.
Diaclone.
While not technically the character of Ultra Magnus, it's a powered-up version of Convoy, as Optimus is known in Japan. It does use the exact same trailer, head, fists, and weapons as you'd see in the North American 86 release, albeit in different colors. The 84 version came with a few accessories that didn't make it over to North America too. A buggy that could transform into a robot, a simplified parts former kind, like Cog from Ultra Magnus. And why couldn't we have these with the North American versions? A Diaclone driver. The set was reissued in 85 with a black version of the Diaclone Lambo, aka Sideswipe, and a red and white race car, aka Mirage. Also released in 85 was the first incarnation of Ultra Magnus in his familiar red, white, and blue color scheme, but not as a full-size Transformer. Under the Transform Jr. or Transform Goken toy line, a smaller version was released with cardboard trailer. It's just the white cab, and just a recolor of their Convoy toy, but still, there it is. The very first Ultra Magnus toy in its traditional colors. So while Ultra Magnus was the fresh new Autobot City Commander in 1986 to many of us, he had already been on the shelves for 2 years in Japan. He made his North American debut in 1986, and for an in-depth look at that release, be sure to check out the 86 Ultra Magnus retrospective on this channel. But to cover it briefly here, the toy featured a white recolored version of Optimus Prime, a recolored trailer from the Powered Convoy set, this time in red, white, and light blue, a pair of missile launchers, and a gun that could be used in either small cab version or large merged version, depending on which way you turned it. I was lucky enough to have one as a kid, and just like on the show, Magnus took the bullet for a lot of my other Transformers. I think my Optimus Prime survived to this day because I got all the rough play I wanted in thanks to my spare Ultra Magnus. That toy got played with to death.
Don't you know any gentler games?
Magnus made his animated debut in 86 as well, but not where you may think. While he had a featured role in the 86 animated movie, his first animated appearance, not counting commercials, was once again in Japan, in the Scramble City home video release, which takes place between Season 2 of the Sunbow series and the movie. He doesn't do much in it, but he is shown to be in command of Autobot City. And is later congratulated by Optimus Prime for a job well done. He didn't get to do much city commanding in the movie, so it's refreshing to see him do the job his tech specs bio described, and I assume had been doing for years before the movie. It's also very interesting to see him alongside the cast of 84 and 85 Autobots, when he's so synonymous with the future crew from 20 years down the road. He's kinda like what Luke Skywalker was to the Jedi. Last of the old, first of the new. Stuck in between two timelines, not truly belonging to either.
It's sad, really.
I do have to mention the character of Dion from the Season 2 episode War Dawn.
He's my best friend.
Suckering more people into doing your work for you, Orion?
In this episode, an Autobot named Orion Pax is killed alongside his friend Dion and girlfriend Ariel. Orion is rebuilt into Optimus Prime by Alpha Trion. It's hinted that Ariel is rebuilt into Elita 1, but we never find out what happened to Dion. Some fans theorize he became Ironhide. To me, he became Cup, based on the similar look and alt mode. but some think he became Ultra Magnus, since it would have been easy for Alpha Trion to clone Prime's body in white for Dion's upgraded form.
Difficult to say.
So another potential birthday for Ultra Magnus, alongside Optimus Prime, is December 25th, 1985, the day War Dawn first aired. Not surprising that they share a birthday with another being who was all about grace, courage, and understanding. Merry Magnus, everyone. His first real role where he actually got to do something substantial was in the 1986 animated movie, where he was voiced by Robert Stack, and is quickly established as an unwavering rock in the heat of battle, clear-minded and knowing exactly what to do.
Springer, you and RC transform Autobot City. Perceptor, tell Blaster to radio Prime for reinforcements.
He could deal with a lot in the movie, but it's the nature of pessimists to dwell on the negative without giving attention to a single saving grace, so he gets a lot of flack for one line in particular.
I can't deal with that now.
But it's Prime himself who reminds us that Ultra Magnus is a worthy leader. As Prime is dying, he tells us he's known Ultra Magnus for quite some time. I'm assuming he means from the days of Cybertron 4 million years ago, and not just the last couple of years on Earth. And if Prime did in fact leave Ultra Magnus in charge of the Autobots on Cybertron for 4 million years, then who better to pass the Matrix to?
Ultra Magnus, it is to you, old friend.
I go more in depth into his portrayal in the movie in the 86 Magnus retrospective, so I'll just quickly recap here by saying he's used as a red herring for the true new hero of the franchise, Hot Rod / Rodimus Prime, and thus is usually shown not being able to get the job quite done. The Sunbow animated series more than rectifies the sacrifice made to the character, though.
Thank the Matrix.
Since Robert Stack was too busy solving unsolved mysteries, or just asked too much or didn't want to do it, the legendary Jack Angel took over the role, doing an exemplary job of giving Magnus wisdom, gentleness, and adamance. Mr. Angel, who passed away in 2021, was well known in the voice acting world, voicing characters like The Flash, Hawkman, and Samurai on Super Friends, King Zarkon on Voltron, Wetsuit on G.I. Joe, and many characters on Transformers, Smokescreen, Omega Supreme, Astrotrain, Ramjet, Breakdown, and Arcana, Brainstorm's Headmaster. Despite Rodimus Prime being the new leader of the Autobots, Magnus gets featured in several episodes of the third season of Transformers, making up for the red herring price he paid in the movie. Despite being second in command, he has all the wisdom, grace, and empathy of Optimus Prime.
Your big problem now is your own disharmony. You've got to learn to live with each other's differences if you're going to live in harmony.
If you're interested in catching some Magnus-centric episodes, check out Surprise Party, which doesn't feature him all that much, but it is all about him and showing reverence to his character. The Killing Jar, where he's one of 3 Transformers captured and studied by Quintessons. This is the episode that really shows you the Warrior's code of honor that he and Cyclonus live by.
It has been too long since I had an opponent that was worthy of my full attention.
And Only Human, where he, along with Rodimus, Springer, and RC, become human for a day. Transformers that are turned into humans are bound to pick up a few human traits, but in Magnus's case,
Not cowardice, certainly.
if you thought the only reason he's so brave is that big metal body,
Don't think for a moment that I haven't the nerve to use this. I have.
this episode shows that being human doesn't diminish his courage or sense of self-sacrifice in the slightest.
Only one course open then. Attack the city ourselves. Make it transform to battle station mode.
While usually straightforward and no-nonsense, Magnus does have a few great comedic moments in the series,
That was harmonic bliss, a musical kiss.
Whatever.
and a great line that shows he can appreciate the more beautiful things in life, but doesn't dwell on them too long at the expense of the mission.
I've never seen anything this beautiful in the entire galaxy. All right, give me the bomb.
With such an inexperienced new leader in charge, Magnus is the ultra-competent lieutenant who sees things clearly and keeps the kid on the right track, even when the situation seems like a slam dunk, like giving a revived Optimus back the Matrix.
Wait, Optimus is in no condition to assume leadership?
While at the same time building up Rodimus's confidence. Since Rodimus was so filled with self-doubt, I mean, who wouldn't be trying to fill Optimus's shoes? Magnus was like an angel. Jack Angel? On his shoulder, reminding him not to listen to those self-doubts.
But you're doing a wonderful job. Trust yourself more, and in time you'll realize you're every bit as good as Optimus Prime ever was.
And the young hothead had enough sense to listen every once in a while, which made for a less frustrating viewing experience.
Okay, so you were right and I was wrong.
And he's not so serious that he didn't have a good quip every now and then.
Cybertron is mine!
You haven't even made the down payment, Galvatron!
Magnus's physical capabilities were off the charts, even though he didn't flex his robo-muscles very often. For example, he could punch a jet in mid-air. Yes, a flying jet in mid-air. Or make Jitsu jealous with his axe-like chop. The car carrier is the perfect alt mode for Magnus, because that's what he's all about, carrying others, usually at the expense of himself.
Marissa, get up here! You're going home! Nobody moves!
I mean, he even took a blast for wheelie. Wheelie! That shows you how automatic his compassion is.
The Transformers will return after these messages. We now return to the Transformers.
The Hasbro Transformer wasn't the only Magnus merch released in '86, though.
The rest is probably similar merchandise.
Well, it bears his likeness, but a variety of items were made available. The Red Herring ruse ran deep that year as many promotional items appeared to herald Magnuson as the new face of the franchise, while downplaying Rodimus's existence and importance to the brand. He's front and center on the original movie poster, which usually meant there's your star of the movie right there. Not this guy. He's on the cover of the Invasion of the Decepticon Camp Marvel coloring book and the Transformers Mystery of Convoy video game in Japan, as well as one of the main playable characters.
May today's games usher in a new age of peace and cooperation in the galaxy.
There was a voice changer, an AM radio, a 3D puzzle, which was a Transformer itself. It could be assembled into a robot or into a car carrier, although the cab was red like Prime.
Yes, curious, isn't it?
A watch, a Halloween costume, and in Japan, a vinyl figure, dart game, Kabaya gum transformer, and decoy. Comics are usually a great place to delve deeper into a character with slightly more mature stories than what was okayed for airwaves, but unfortunately there wasn't much Magnus in Marvel print in North America in '86. He appeared in the 3-part movie adaptation, and that's it for '86. Because of the time jump, he was difficult to work into the story.
So, what can we do about it?
Marvel UK to the rescue, and a big reason why he was Sean's favorite bot.
Let's take a look.
His most prominent role in comics occurred across the pond in the UK version of the title written by the legendary scribe Simon Furman. He made his first appearance in issue number 79, published on September 20th, 1986. Unlike later interpretations of the character, the UK Magnus wasn't Optimus Prime's contemporary or his brother. This Magnus hadn't been around for very long. In fact, he was brand new, built by the remaining Autobot elders as a figurehead to lead an important mission. Operation Volcano was designed to take out 10 of the Decepticons' most lethal killers and try to shake the enemy's hold on Cybertron. However, events on Earth changed that plan, and Magnus's life. Word reached Cybertron that Optimus Prime had vanished, taking the matrix of leadership with him. Instead of leading Volcano, Magnus was dispatched to Earth to solve the mystery.
Well, I have a feeling we're not in it for a fun time.
That solution was Galvatron, a power-mad Decepticon commander who had time-traveled back from 2006 to change the events of Transformers the movie. Teaming with the 1986 Autobots, as well as time travelers Cup, Blur, and Hot Rod, Magnus confronted Galvatron and lost. Though he never gave up nor surrendered, Magnus was no match for the future Decepticon. Victory eventually came through Cup's wily trickery, but Magnus was left damaged, battered, and lacking self-confidence. He returned to Cybertron a changed bot, and too late to take part in Volcano. The next few months were a dark time for Magnus. Grappling with his failure, he became more militant and less insightful. He even believed a Decepticon ruse that Optimus Prime, who had returned to Cybertron, was actually an imposter, and nearly executed him. Fortunately, sanity prevailed, leading to something wonderful. Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus side by side, liberating swaths of Cybertron from the Decepticon elite. Sadly, this couldn't last, and through the machinations of Megatron, both Prime and Magnus wound up being transported back to Earth. Isolated, with no idea how to find the Ark, Magnus found himself a stranger in a strange land, and liked it. For the next few months, he roamed the Earth, falling in love with its wonders and its people. He also formed a special bond with a human called Cindy Newell, which might have blossomed into something more special had Galvatron not returned. Back from the future, Galvatron tried to harness a volcano's energies to become a god. Magnus teamed with Goldbug and 4 bots from the future, his old allies Cup and Blur, the Junkion Retgar, and Hot Rod, now carrying the Matrix as Rodimus Prime, to defeat Galvatron. But the Decepticon was even more powerful than before, and the bounty hunter, or freelance peacekeeping agent, Death's Head, was also making trouble. In the end, the only solution for Magnus was to make the ultimate sacrifice. He entombed both himself and Galvatron in molten lava to end the Decepticon's threat once and for all.
Possibly, but I wouldn't wish to wager on it.
Too mad to be contained, Galvatron eventually broke free. Though the Cybertronian Autobots came and freed Magnus, months under rock had done significant damage. Magnus's self-doubt had twisted into fear and post-traumatic stress, and he was terrified of Galvatron.
I've got a bad feeling about all this.
Crippled by that fear, he could do nothing but stare blankly as Galvatron decimated his rescuers. But finally, Magnus found the will to push through his terror, fight back, and for the first time, win.
That's the spirit!
Proving he'd never lacked power, only confidence, Magnus defeated Galvatron at last and sent the future Decepticon running.
Sometimes it just takes a while to realize what you've got to offer others.
Though Magnus wanted to finish the fight, his duties on Cybertron called him back. He helped defeat a zombie infestation caused by a mad Autobot scientist, and shut down gladiator fights being staged by a Decepticon businessman. And then, nothing. Format changes to the UK book, forced by real-world economics, meant Furman never got to finish his Magnus vs. Galvatron saga. Their war ended at 1 win apiece and 1 draw, with an assist to the volcano. Magnus didn't reappear in the UK book prior to its cancellation. His future self, from the same era as Rodimus, Cup, and Blur, made occasional cameos, but that version was near identical to the one on the US cartoon. Ultra Magnus was perhaps the second most important character in the UK Transformers title, after Galvatron. He represented the maturation of the title and its willingness to deal with flawed, even scared heroes who made mistakes but learned from their experiences. Physically, Magnus was every bit the equal of Optimus Prime, but emotionally, he had many of the same doubts and fears that young readers were experiencing. Instead of being a leader, he was an inspiration, a symbol that being scared didn't also mean you had to give up. Instead, it meant you had to be stronger, fight harder, conquer your monsters, and stand up for those weaker than you. If Optimus was the ideal, Hot Rod was the kid appeal, and Grimlock was the tough, cool warrior, then Magnus was the reader personified, doing their best, day by day, in a world that often seemed far too much to deal with right now, and yet dealing with it nonetheless.
No more, no less.
1987 saw a lot less Magnus merch, but who needs a lot of merch when you've got ice cream bars? Peters produced transforming Magnus ice cream bars with sticks that transformed into gum or caramel toffee. He got a Forms Robo figure in Japan, which is a decoy figure twice the size of regular decoys, and the 86 Hasbro Transformer was reissued with some downgrades. The rubber tires were swapped out for plastic ones, and some missing paint, sometimes even missing windshields. We get to see a different side of Magnus in the 87 episode Return of Optimus Prime Part 1, where he's infected with the hate plague and hunting down Rodimus Prime.
You can't escape, Rodimus! I can track your gas fumes anywhere!
It's an interesting glimpse into what a Mirrorverse Magnus would have been like. Basically a big Decepticon jerk.
There you are, you beauty wimp!
And later that year in the Season 4 3-parter Rebirth, he serves as Prime's second-in-command, entrusted with commanding the Autobots on Cybertron while Prime goes off in search of the Headmasters.
Until I return, I'm leaving you in command. I know you won't let me down.
And once again drives home just how good a second-in-command he is. First with Prime, then with Rodimus, then again with Cerebros. He's passed over for leadership of the Autobots a second time, and you never hear any jealousy from him. He's just a solid dude, without an ounce of ego. The last guy who wants to lead, which means he's the first guy who should be leading.
The Transformers will return after these messages. We now return to the Transformers.
88 saw a single appearance in the Marvel comic, and it wasn't anything new if you'd already seen the big broadcast of 2006 on TV 2 years prior. It was also the end of the road for him in the Japanese Headmasters cartoon. On January 22nd, 1988, He faced off against Six-Shot in the episode Ultra Magnus Dies. And spoiler for a story that's over 30 years old, he dies.
Ultra Magnus.
Hey, watch your language. Bill's kids might be watching with him. For people still upset about Prime's death in the movie, at least it was an honorable warrior's death. Stomping a bunch of Decepticons single-handedly and then crippling Megatron in his final act, sending him to a fate worse than death by being Unicron's slave. It could have been Magnus's death in Headmasters. Holy lord, it's terrible. He gets obliterated by Six-Shot. Just stands there while the Decepticon ninja takes potshots in jet and laser gun mode, chewed on in winged puma mode, crunched in tank mode, and then finished off in a secret 7th mode, Jet Puma. If being a recolor of Prime was good enough for the Magnus toy, then a recolor of Prime's death would have been good enough too. Let him roll in and stomp a few Decepticons before going toe-to-toe with Six-Shot. He wouldn't have to kill Six-Shot, but at least inflict some serious damage. Make him a triple changer from that day on instead of a 6-changer.
Let's try to salvage this thing.
Okay, silver lining for the optimists out there. We finally get to see Magnus, the city commander, fight alongside Metroplex, who battles Trypticon at the same time. We had always been told he was city commander, but this is the first time I recall the two actually working in tandem. Metroplex usually just does his giant titan thing and is oblivious to all the tiny transformers around him. We also get a nice tribute from Metroplex and some actual emotion, showing Magnus wasn't just his commander, he was his friend. He gets a touching send-off and a burial at sea, sort of, thanks to Metroplex's request, and surprisingly, stays dead.
Not for long.
Sorry to break it to you, big guy, but this death actually stuck. He wasn't brought back later in the series, or in Master Force, or in Victory. I'm sure there's some obscure manga, comic strip, short story, or fanfic claiming to continue the story that brings him back like they do for everyone. I initially thought this was a strange call killing off an 86 character in 88, but as Slick pointed out, he had already been around in Japan since 84, in a way, with the powered convoy toy. Plus, death isn't looked at the same in Japan as in North America. In North America, it can be a real joy killer, like a "you ruined my childhood" type of thing. In Japan, the land of the samurai and the code of Bushido, a good death is, yes, something to be mourned, but also celebrated. Well, I guess his death wasn't great, but he took a lot of punishment and refused to quit, so that's something. And like Prime, and any true warrior, he had already accepted death, made his peace with it, and lived every day as if it were a gift, a bonus, until that inevitable death came.
This is the end.
See the poise and grace with which he accepts his fate? No sniveling, begging, pleading. Magnus knew what was always coming, and faced it with acceptance. So although I don't like exactly how he died here, getting squashed by the new toy, it does stay true to how he felt about death. Acceptance. He stood by his devotion to protecting Earth, and was rewarded with a burial on Earth instead of the traditional burial in space because of it.
Your courage will be remembered.
The G1 incarnation may have become one with the Matrix, but the Magnus merch marched on.
He's right! The Ultra Magnus is still out there!
The amount of Magnus merchandise out there is humongous.
And growing.
In 1990, a parody deformed candy toy by Kabaya in Japan. The earlier mentioned watch was reissued in 93 under the G2 banner. The old powered convoy mold was reissued in 2001 with 3 different decos. The 86 standard colors.
We meet again.
A translucent yellow shining Magnus. And the original 84 Diaclone colors. The first new mold and new character to use the old name and colors was in 2001 in the Robots in Disguise line, or RID.
What makes you think I need anyone's help? I can handle you weaklings all by myself.
Despite being a car carrier again, this one was Ultra Magnus in name only. Completely different from the honorable, selfless warrior for peace of the original series. This one is selfish, petty.
Use your powers while you can, Optimus. You won't have them for long.
Jealous of his brother Optimus Prime for being chosen to hold the Matrix.
As Cybertron's most powerful warrior, I should have been given that honor.
He's a complete cad, chum.
Either give me the Matrix, or else I'll take it from you by force, even if I have to destroy you in the process.
The toy rocks, and can be combined with RID Optimus to form Omega Prime, one of the beefiest bots ever made. Too far a departure for the character. What value is name recognition if the name doesn't represent what it's known for?
What? Join that group of incompetents and take orders from you? You're an even bigger fool than I thought.
A harbinger of things to come. The everybody's Batman age had begun.
I don't know how to tell you this, Cup, but the detector says he's not lying.
A quartet of SCF figures in Japan were released that year. Normal deco, clear, pewter, and original Diaclone colors. Affectionately now known as Delta Magnus. North Americans got a chance to get the 86 reissue in 2002 thanks to the commemorative line. The rubber tires were thankfully brought back, but the missiles were elongated to not be as much of a choking hazard, and the smokestacks were shortened because children developed a penchant for sticking sharp objects in their eye since 86.
So that's what this is all about.
Hey, they eat Tide Pods. It's not that far from reality. And the SCF figure was ported over to North America as part of the Heroes of Cybertron line, this time with light piping eyes.
And now, the time has come to claim what is rightfully mine.
The RID bag got a mini Spy Changer version in 2002, and the big version got a slight recolor in 2003 as a Sam's Club exclusive. A Generation 1 figure collection bottle cap figure in Japan, and a cute little My Clone of the G1 version also in 2003. A recolor of the Spy Changer in 2004 with a paint job that better matches his heart. And since Magnus was originally a white recolor of Optimus, here we go. Any version of Optimus Prime going forward was fair game as a white recolor of Magnus. There's been too many to all name here, but here's a few of them. Universe 2-pack with Treadshot in 2004, Energon in 2004, a Palisade statue, no armor, a Hard Hero bust, the world's smallest Transformers Ultra Magnus, which was the chase for the second wave of the line. It's just a white recolor of the world's smallest Optimus Prime though. Another RID reissue in a 2-pack with Optimus in 2005, and his first Masterpiece release in 2005, but it was just a repaint of MPO1 Optimus Prime. 2006 saw another Prime repaint in Magnus colors. G2's Laser Optimus Prime became Laser Ultra Magnus in Japan. A Diamond Select Art Asylum head bust. Super deformed statues in both 86 and 84 colors, dropping the Matrix. A pair of titanium 6-inch toys in 2007, one a white recolor of War Within Optimus, and this one was cool. His G1 look but without the transforming cab. Also in 2007, a Classics 2-pack with Optimus Prime, and a non-transforming Revoltech figure of the white cab in robot mode, inspired by his Dreamwave Comics appearance. The smaller white cab-only version of Magnus hadn't been seen too often in media, most notably Dreamwave showing the robot within the trailer armor, which was a big applause moment for longtime fans who would have been waiting ages to get a glimpse of Magnus in Optimus clone mode. Another 2-pack with Skywarp, and finally a cute little robot hero version in a 2-pack with Megatron. That's an odd combo. Animated Magnus from the show that was actually titled Transformers Animated. Got a toy in 2008, and the character was a return to form. A wise, peaceful warrior that doesn't pull punches and wields the Magnus Hammer, making him the Cybertronian god of thunder. He's voiced by Jeff Bennett, who does a perfect Robert Stack impression.
Set up a force shield to quarantine us from those organics.
Unlike the UK version, he's not quite as embracing of the creatures of Earth upon his arrival, though.
Sentinel Prime. Decontaminate Optimus Prime and his crew.
And he's finally promoted. No more second in command for this incarnation. He's the supreme leader of the Autobots this time.
Ultra Magnus, sir. Welcome to Earth, Commander.
In 2009, a Diamond Select body bust. A gigantic 1 meter tall speaker tower. The biggest Magnus ever made. Although that's just a white Prime recolor too. And his head was turned into a USB speaker. An Alternity release in 2010, another Optimus repaint. He got a BotCon exclusive in 2012 with the Timeline's Shattered Glass set, plus a Cyberverse and Transformers Prime release. A Transformer voiced by Michael Ironside. How cool is that?
If you won't accept that, feel free to choose the path of least resistance.
2013 saw another repaint of Optimus, or rather Big Convoy, from the Japanese Beast Wars Neo line. His beast name was Ultra Mammoth. Nice. A Generations Fall of Cybertron release, Transformers Prime Beast Hunters, and a Platinum Edition Transformers Prime Weaponizer release, all in 2013 as well. Transformers Pen came out in 2014, a repaint of the Optimus Pen naturally, Beast Hunters Cyberverse mini version, a Creo, and Angry Birds. 2015 was a landmark year with some original new molds instead of Optimus repaints. Highlighting the year was MP22, Masterpiece Ultra Magnus.
May I ask why everyone's going to such trouble over this thing?
Well, it takes the idea of not being an Optimus Prime repaint so far that the cab in vehicle mode doesn't actually transform into a white Optimus Prime. It just merges with the trailer directly into the armored up Magnus. This release is beefy. He lacks a lot of the articulation of the other Masterpiece figures due to all the bulk. But I'd rather have a big, beefy, immobile Magnus than a lithe one that can do yoga poses. It's more true to the character. There was a Combiner Wars version, also with a non-transforming cab, a Mecha Nations figure, a Tiny Titans PVC, and another Prime repaint for Legion, and another Legion version in 2016. A Platinum Edition 5-pack, or 6-pack if you count the little guy, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Transformers the movie. Where's Hot Rod? Alt modes. And a little Q Transformers guy.
They're coming from everywhere! I can't tell how many there are!
Still a few to go. In 2017, he became a Headmaster, but not how you'd think.
About to land on your head?
He's one of 2 heads included with Headmaster RC's body. If you got the big bucks, a colossal Unimetal release, and a Prime 1 Studio statue, and a really nice version for Siege in 2019. And a featured role in the War for Cybertron trilogy series, mentored by Alpha Trion in this continuity alongside Optimus and Megatron? What? This is one of those everybody's Batman series. Everybody, except Magnus. Sure, he's more somber in this, everybody is, but he's still as honorable and courageous as his G1 namesake. Loyal to the end, Magnus refuses to betray the Autobots and faces execution by Megatron with true G1 Ultra Magnus fashion.
I will never betray the Autobots.
Acceptance, courage, grace. You'll have to kill me because I won't ever quit. So, Megatron does. What does this guy have to do to get a great death where he's going down fighting? A Filthy release in 2020 alongside Rung. A Flame Toys figure. A Kingdom release in 2021.
There are too many of them!
Yeah, there's been an ultra amount of Magnus, alright. Another Shattered Glass version in 2022. You got an E-Hobby character card and keychain. He was part of an 18-pack of Nano Metal Figs by Jada. He's in a coma, or sleep mode, being stood on by Sixshot in this 33-inch statue. A micro figure from the Behold Galvatron pack.
He's almost finished!
A premium finish for the War for Cybertron version. Finally a repaint of Prime that isn't white. Hey, did we finally get our hate plague protective coating Optimus Prime?
We've got to fight the madness!
A white recolor of red Optimus Prime as Ultra Magnus. And a reaction figure by Super 7 is slated for 2023, along with a lot more Magnus merch, I'm sure.
Bingo!
Interestingly enough, he's never appeared in a live-action movie. Who knows why? Maybe he just refused to work with Michael Bay because they wanted to turn him into a dark, violent Batman type of character that takes himself way too seriously.
That's just it.
And that's it for Ultra Magnus.
Did you get your questions answered?
The number 1 of the Autobots, to use a Star Trek term, even if he's usually ranked number 2. Thanks again to Slick for the request. Hope I did him ultra justice. And thanks to the Patreon tribe members for supporting. And for Patreon members, after watching the world's biggest Ultra Magnus video, you can watch the world's smallest Ultra Magnus video, which is this week's Patreon exclusive. And thank you channel members as well. And thanks to TF Wiki, TFU Info, and Unicron.com for all the great Transformers intel.
Our link to our history and our future.
So what's your favorite Magnus moment? Or got a favorite Magnus version? Or want to delve more into one of the Ultra Magni that I didn't have time to explore today? Share your grace in the comments space.
The sooner the better.
And to join the tribe, hit subscribe.
Come on, showtime's over. We've got work to do.
Amen to that. Till all are fun.
Till all are one.
Magnus.